Or when a district board decides to undertake doing a superintendent evaluation, are there people outside the board you think we should seek input from in evaluating the superintendent?
You know, I think that's a great question, and I think one instinctive response is we should hear from everybody. But not everybody actually has the experience and the qualification to give objective input. So I think what comes first is what are the goals for the district? And then after you know what the goals are, you have to think, are there groups or entities which can inform us about progress toward that goal? So I don't personally think that the way to go is to always ask all the parents, all the students, all the staff how the superintendent's doing, because they don't always have the objective and aren't always qualified to answer on your particular focus area. I don't know if other people have different ideas.
I've often said, and I feel the same way for principals, that doing the job of administration at the supervisory union level, district level, or at school level isn't a popularity contest. And there really are times where part of the job is needing to say things and do some things that not everybody might be happy with. And so what we don't want to do in an evaluation process is to put the emphasis or the prize on being popular. I mean, you'd like to have people feel somebody's fair, reasonable, thought through, so it's not that you're just kind of an ogre. But at the same time, I think we need to recognize that the job, this part of the organization, requires somebody who can be very fair but focused and firm in the steps that need to be taken.
The other side of that is sort of in talking to your question, having some satisfaction information from the general population, I think, is helpful. So that we're not asking particular parents necessarily, but are parents satisfied with the math program, if that's the area? Are teachers satisfied with the professional development that they're getting? But it's not just an interest group that's making that information, or a few people, but it is some data that really can be counted on. It's sort of quality data about performance.
John, who would you identify as the stakeholders in a superintendent's evaluation?
You'll have to talk more about what you mean.
The stakeholders who would have an interest in giving input as to the satisfaction that you're speaking of.
I think it depends on the specificity and the indicators. So for instance, on student learning, I think we need students to be expressing satisfaction with the learning they're getting. They need to be engaged. And so I think asking students, are they engaged? Does this math program engage them, if that's the area of focus? Or whatever the focus is, you have to identify the external information you want and go get that. Not leave it to chance, but it needs to be related to the areas you're interested in, and then you identify who are those stakeholders.
Now,
So,
you gave an example of an internal stakeholder. Who might be external stakeholders other than parents?
Let's just say, one of the areas the board was working on was community relations, for instance. So then you've got a whole different set of stakeholders if that's the area of emphasis, and so it might be a random sample of citizens, of voters. It might be the town government officers. A variety of stakeholders depending upon what you're trying to accomplish.
And maybe I can share, community relations is one of the things that we've been working on in my SU. And so one of our sort of subcategories of that is we want the community to be better informed about what's happening in the schools. So one of our indicators is about getting more press, more stories out about what's already happening in the schools. When it comes to evaluation time, one of the things we may want to do is see, has that been successful? So we might do a random survey of community members. Do they know what's been happening in the school? Because just having an article may not have reached our goal if no one's read it or retained it. So, but then you get to proactively decide what's the focus area that you want to do, and then think, how do we survey or get input from the broader community that's targeted right towards that? So that's very different from going to the community and saying, we're going to evaluate the superintendent. Tell us, do you think he or she's been doing a good job? This way it's more targeted. You're saying to the community, can you tell us Have you read about what's happening in the schools? Are you aware of the particular things we've been doing? So it's targeted towards what you're trying to get at.
Do you see local businesses as stakeholders also?
Again, it depends what your targeted area is. I think the important thing here is that instead of just going out and saying more is better, you have to really think about what information do you want from people, why do you want it, are they qualified to give it, and then collect it in a thoughtful manner.